The emergency klaxon screamed through the corridors of the stellar harmony. A massive diplomatic vessel carrying representatives from 12 different species to the Galactic Peace Summit. Raza wiped grease from his hands as he rushed from the engine bay, his tool belt jangling against his coveralls. As the ship's chief human mechanic, he'd seen plenty of crises, but the panic in the alien crew members' voices told him this was different. "Hull breach in Section 7. Captain Vextar's reptilian voice crackled over the comm. "All passengers evacuate immediately." Raza sprinted through the corridors, pushing past fleeing aliens of various species. The Zephyrians fluttered their translucent wings in distress, while the crystalline quartzoids chimed anxiously as they moved with surprising speed on their mineral legs. But as he rounded the corner to Section 7, Raza's heart stopped. There, pressed against the emergency blast door, was Naz, a small android child no taller than his waist. Her synthetic skin was pale blue, marking her as one of the Nexus Collective's newer generation androids, and her large, luminous eyes were filled with something that looked remarkably like terror. "The door won't open," she cried, her voice carrying that peculiar harmonic quality that marked synthetic beings. "My guardian is still inside." Through the blast door's small viewport, Raza could see the horrific scene beyond. The hull had been torn open by a massive piece of space debris, and atmosphere was venting rapidly into the void. Floating unconscious near the breach was Dr. Kethmore, Naz's Nexus guardian, a tall android with silver plating who had been attending the summit as a representative of artificial intelligence rights. "The blast door sealed automatically," Naz explained frantically. "The system won't let me override it because of the breach, but he'll die if we don't get him out." Raza knelt beside her, his mind racing. The other crew members had already written off Section 7 as lost. In their logical, survival-focused thinking, it made perfect sense. One android life wasn't worth risking the entire ship. But as Raza looked into Naz's desperate eyes, he saw something the others missed. The same love and fear he'd seen in human children worried about their parents. "Can your internal sensors detect his power levels?" Raza asked quickly. Naz nodded, her optical processors whirring. "He's got maybe 4 minutes of emergency power left. After that..." She couldn't finish the sentence. 4 minutes. Raza's engineering mind calculated rapidly. The breach was too large to seal from inside, but if someone could get to the external hull and manually deploy an emergency patch, it might buy enough time to equalize pressure and open the blast door. "I need you to access the ship's EVA suit bay," Raza said, already running toward the maintenance shaft. "Route all available power to the magnetic clamps on airlock 7 Alpha. "You can't go out there," Naz protested. "The debris field is still active. One wrong move and..." "Kid," Raza interrupted gently, "sometimes being human means doing stupid things for the right reasons." 3 minutes later, Raza was clinging to the ship's hull in a hastily donned EVA suit, fighting against the vacuum and the ship's rotation as chunks of debris sailed past like deadly meteors. The breach was even worse than it had looked from inside, a jagged tear nearly 3 meters wide that had punched through 2 layers of hull plating. His magnetic boots fought for purchase on the twisted metal as he deployed the emergency patch kit. The magnetic seals needed to be placed precisely, and with debris constantly threatening to knock him loose, every second was a battle against physics and fate. 2 minutes. Naz's voice crackled through his helmet comm. "Raza, please hurry." A basketball-sized chunk of metal spun past, missing his helmet by centimeters. Raza forced himself to focus, aligning the patch with practiced precision. The first magnetic clamp engaged with a satisfying thunk. Then the second, the third clamp sparked as debris damaged its coupling, but the fourth held true. "Patch deployed," he gasped. "Naz, tell the captain to begin emergency atmosphere injection." The next 60 seconds were the longest of Raza's life. Slowly, agonizingly, atmosphere began to fill Section 7. The violent venting stopped, replaced by a steady hiss of pressurization. Finally, the blast door's safety protocols disengaged. Naz was through the door before it was fully open, rushing to her guardian's side. Dr. Kethamore's optical sensors flickered weakly as she cradled his head.
"Guardian?
"Can you hear me, Naz?" Dr. Kethamore's voice was barely a whisper through damaged vocal processors. "How?" "The breach was too severe. Raza fixed it," she said, tears of synthetic lubricant streaming down her face. "The human mechanic. He went outside the ship to save you." By the time Raza made it back through the airlock, Half the ship's crew had gathered in Section 7. Captain Vextar's vertical pupils dilated with what Raza had learned to recognize as reptilian amazement. "Mechanic Raza," the captain said formally. "Your actions were highly irregular. The statistical probability of survival for such a maneuver was less than 12%. "Yeah, well," Raza shrugged, pulling off his helmet. "Humans aren't really big on statistics when it comes to family." "Family?" Dr. Kethamore had managed to sit up, his system slowly coming back online. "But we are artificial beings. Our relationship is programmed, not biological." Raza looked at Naz, who was still holding her guardian's hand tightly. "Love isn't about programming or biology," he said simply. "It's about choice, and sometimes choosing to care about someone means risking everything to protect them." The assembled aliens exchanged glances, their various species expressions ranging from confusion to wonder. The crystalline quartzoids chimed in harmonic discussion, while the Zephyrian's wings shimmered with thoughtful patterns. It was Naz who broke the silence. "Thank you," she said to Raza. "Not just for saving him, but for showing me what it really means to be human." Raza smiled and ruffled her synthetic hair. "Kid, being human isn't about biology. It's about what you're willing to do for the people you care about. And from what I just saw, you're more human than half the biological species on this ship." As the crew dispersed and repairs began in earnest, the story of the human mechanic who risked everything for an android child spread throughout the ship. By the time they reached the Peace Summit, it had become legend. Another tale of why, despite their apparent fragility and illogical behavior, humans had earned their place among the stars. Sometimes the galaxy learned that day. The most important repairs aren't made with tools and patches, but with courage and compassion.